back to View from Above, featuring the ever-festive John Buerger, founder of Altus Wealth Solutions in San Luis Obispo, California. John, always a pleasure, bud.
Always good to be here.
So you are Casual Friday, I see. I love the summer gear.
Yeah, so I'm in Central California, and I will say it's been warm the last couple of weeks. That's an understatement.
So what defines hot in Central California?
So where I'm at, near San Luis Obispo, but we're in what we call North County. So we're actually a sort of a low desert, 1,500 feet above sea level. Not far from the ocean, less than 15 miles from the ocean, but there's a big ridge of mountains between us and that ocean. So we don't get a lot of that ocean breeze except for in the evening. So our highs in summertime will be in the 90s most days, and certainly can do easy triple digits. It's a dry heat though, so it's not that bad. We'll have 105, 107, maybe 110 a couple of days during summer, but the bulk of it's usually mid to upper 90s with low humidity. Kind of nice.
See, in North Carolina, the concept of a dry heat is an oxymoron. That does not exist here.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. I know.
Well, I was hoping to pick your brain a little bit more today on your fractional CFO work. You are honestly, you are the only advisor that I know who does that type of work for clients. I think that I have heard of or come across a few other advisors that do that. So I was really intrigued by that and how that, because we've talked before. I mean, really your area of interest, I suppose, is you would say is working with small business owners. We talked about last time how much you enjoy that entrepreneurial spirit and living vicariously through your clients who run businesses as well. So if you're a small business owner, that's a very unique bag of problems that you have to manage and juggle financially. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how you do that and kind of what got you into that type of work also.
Well, yeah, so we'll start with the genesis of it all because, as I said last time, I am an entrepreneur myself. I've had several businesses, and I do enjoy living vicariously through other people's businesses because it's a little less risk on my part, and I get to watch as their stuff either grows or does not grow. But generally speaking, we're pretty good about making sure our clients are successful, or at least improving the odds of success that they have with whatever it is that they're doing. So, I'm an analyst by nature, trained as a financial planner, but that's mostly by training. And I've always approached business operations, whether it's the operations or the finance side of things, through that analytical, process-oriented systems and process lens. So now backing up a little bit, what's intriguing to me about all of that has always been getting into the nuts and bolts of the business, what works, what doesn't work, why it works, and watching it flourish because you're pulling the levers correctly and doing what you need to do. But so people understand a CFO, which is a chief financial officer. I think most people think of CFOs as, just overglorified accountants. They are that's the accounting arm, right? That's you have a person there, your bookkeeper. Then from the next step up to that is the controller, and then the next step up from that would be the chief financial officer. But in the larger companies, you'll find the CFOs. Yes, they have the accounting chutzpah, and many of them are CPAs. But where CFOs separate themselves from your controller, for example, or most people in that finance arm, is their ability to do the analysis, to be that analytical person and start thinking creatively and projecting out over long periods of time. So CFO work truly is more just financial planning that we do for persons, but writ large, massive, on a much larger scale. The business. One thing I've always said to all business owners is, you got a lot of money running through those fingers of yours, right? It's not just the money that you as a human being have in your personal life. That would be your income, but you're a business. So, multiply that times 10 or 20 or 50 or 100, right? That's how much money you have running through your fingers. And if you can just be a little bit better about making sure some of that money that's running through those fingers stays with you or stays with the company, then marginally everything is better. But the numbers are so much bigger. There's a much bigger chance to make much bigger gains. And so that's really why I like doing it with business owners, is the ability to make a tweak and have it be really productive from a dollars and cents standpoint. It's much easier to do with business numbers than it is with just personal finances.
It's really interesting. So when you compare an executive who goes to work, makes $200,000 a year, they get a check, they put it in their bank account, they pay their bills. The next month they get another check, they put it in their bank account, they pay their bills. Over time, hopefully that's piling up, and they may get to a point where they decide that they want to invest some of that money or pay off debt with that money, or those types of decisions. But then when you look at a restaurant or a retail business, or really any type of business, take that executive. If you earn $200,000 and you spend $200,000, then grand total $400,000 worth of transactions took place in a year. But in businesses, they earn $100,000, they spend $90,000. They earn $100,000, they spend $90,000. They do this on repeat over and over and over, and then over the course of a year, they may get to that same $200,000, but they may have $5 million worth of transactions to get to that point. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that quote. I'm going to steal that somewhere, probably in a variety of ways. Improving the odds of success. Because I think that a lot of times, one of my most frustrating things as an advisor is that clients a lot of times think financial advisors are like financial genies that we just push a button and we give you more money, or we push a button and we automatically know what the stock market's going to do, or we automatically know what's going to happen next. And I think that sentence or that phrase may encapsulate a financial advisor's true job better than I've ever heard it, to improve the odds of success financially for their clients. That's just an aside. I love that. But when you're handling, $1 million worth of transactions to net your $1 million, there's a lot of ways that you can hurt your odds of success if you don't know what you're doing and you're not hiring a professional, right?
Well, yeah, there are a lot of ways you can hurt your way, or there's just a lot more potential to find that little bit that's meaningful. So let's just do two comparisons. When I do personal financial planning, and I'm very cash flow oriented in my approach, both to personal finance and business finance. To me, cash flow drives everything. Everybody says, "Oh, well, your investments. If you can just do better on your investments," but it's such a small part of wealth making in real life. Cash flow, that $200,000 per year executive, has $200,000 running through their fingers every year. And if they can just find 5% of that, which, by the way, is super easy to do if you know what you're doing and you know how to approach cash flow in a positive way, just 5% of that is the delta of, what is that, $10,000, right? So that's 10 grand that is either leaking out of your pocket and just like spilling out like dollar bills, just spilling out and going on the path, or it's in your hands and you can do something with it. $5,000 or $10,000 difference just by 5% changes in cash flow. Now, on a personal level, 5% is actually pretty easy, but it still seems like, God, that's a pretty significant amount, right? If 200,000, 5%, how do you make those kinds of adjustments? Well, now switch to a business which, instead of having $200,000 running through the fingers, has $1 million or $2 million. But we'll just use $1 million. That's a pretty small business, but it's still 5x. So now 5% tweak. Well, actually, all you need is a 1% tweak to get that same extra 10 grand.
Right.
Right. And that is so easy to find, 1% in anything.
Figuring out ways to rub two dimes together and make it a quarter. And that was a lot of fun. And you have a lot of opportunities to do that when you're working with folks that have all those moving parts, whether that be their benefits, whether that be their capital management or their capital expenditure planning, whether that be debt management. I mean, there's a lot of things that are available there. But when you're right in the personal financial world, there are only so many decisions that you have control over. But for the business owner, they have decisions like, okay, retirement planning. We've talked about that before. Okay, setting up the right plan. Well, that's going to have an immediate impact on their cash flow in terms of tax savings, or if you're making if you're setting up a plan that is going to require a company match, then that's a cash outflow. But then you have to project out what is that cash flow going to do to employee retention, and then what is that employee retention going to do to your long-term costs. There are just so many
Yeah.
dominoes there. Do you have any examples of a particular case study, if you will, of a situation where you got in there and you got your hands dirty and you saw some opportunities and what types of difference it made to the business, 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road?
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, that's that is an everyday occurrence. Um, every new client, I don't think they're going to pay for that fractional CFO work if they aren't going to get some kind of benefit. But the nice thing is, fractional CFO work usually starts like, let's say, $1,200 a month, something like that. That's the lower end of fractional work. But on $1 million business, that's 14,000. And if I can do a 1 or 2% tweak just to cash flow management, I've paid for myself or my services. And most of the time when we're walking in, I'm targeting a 5%. I'm targeting a 5% shift in cash flows, and business owners go, but that's a big percentage. They go, yes, it is, but there's a lot of moving parts here, and there's a lot of ways to make 5% happen. So that's what we're trying to do, is give them a 5x on basically what we're charging for the work.
Gotcha. And then,
And it happens all the time.
and what types of businesses do you do this work for? Do you have a niche in particular that you have carved out?
No, it's all over the place. I've done professionals. That would be, doctors, dentists, lawyers. I've done all of those. There are slightly different dynamics there because of especially the medical billing issues and how that works. But they have a lot more. They have a lot more money running through their fingers. So there's a lot of things we can do to help them there. Um, Retail businesses, construction businesses. Just trying to think. It's been all over the place. Essentially, any business that is seeing that revenue stream and is working with employees, especially, has the capacity for us to walk in and find that 5% tweak.
And then the tweaks themselves, I mean, are you, I guess, how much of the opportunity that you uncover for those tweaks comes from finding ways to save money versus finding ways to be more efficient with capital investment,
Yeah,
projects,
CapEx.
yeah,
Yeah,
capex, versus
I
just, or is there a third? I mean, I'm thinking there's only two lines: make money, make more or spend less are the two ways you improve a business, but that may even be an oversimplified way of saying it. There may even be a third hybrid, something in there that you do that I'm not aware of. So where's the focus on finding ways to increase top line versus eliminate things between top and bottom line?
almost always we start on the uh, cash flow. We're going to get the most immediate responses out of that. I mean, CapEx changes thinking long term. We're talking long term sustainability, which is certainly important and something that is more geared towards. I said, CFOs tend to be financial planning and analysis oriented. That we have great strength in that area. However, push comes to shove, the best capex investments and best decision making on where you're going to be 5 years from now are meaningless if you're bleeding money so fast you're gonna get a margin call on a loan you have or whatever. Cash flow is king, and it drives whether or not you're going to be in business tomorrow, not to speak for 3 to 5 or 10 years from now. So that's where we start almost always, and that's where the biggest gains tend to be most easily quantified. And when you're trying to say, I'm charging you X for my services, I want to make sure you're getting a good return on that investment. I want to be able to actually show it to them pretty quickly on the bottom line, because they're not going to wait for 5 years to say, oh, you know what, John was really worth it because we're here where we are. They don't last that long.
And with cash flow is something that I always struggled to really understand in college. I'll be honest with you. Income, when I took accounting, income statements were simple. It was income minus expenses, or revenue minus expensive equals net income. I understood income statements. Balance sheets were really easy. Assets minus liability equals total equity or net worth. Cash flow was something I didn't quite comprehend in college. As an adult, I learned it because cash flow, if I were to give a simple example of this, is if a business has $10,000 worth of expenses per month and $50,000 in their bank accounts, and they earn $0 of revenue from January until November, and then they earn $5 million in December. That sounds great on an income statement. That sounds great because what do you end up with? They're like 4 point something big, $1 million in net income. Your balance sheet looks
It's a really
good.
profitable company, but how are you going to get from January until
There you
November?
go. Because
So
July,
you'll
August,
get to
September,
May.
you're not a business anymore.
You'll get to May, you'll be okay, but then now you can't pay your employees, and that tends to be not very good for your employee morale, and you're never going to get to the payday in December, right? So, and that is a lot of it. So, cash flow is we look at cash flow on an annual basis, rolling annual basis, 12 months. And then we also look at cash flow. We really try to get the finance team to be looking at cash flow on a 13-week rolling basis, because essentially a lot of companies are going to have free cash that's going to last them, 3 to 4 months. A lot of smaller businesses tend not to want to carry that any more cash than that. So what happens if your revenue dries up or temporarily, or you have to make an investment in something, or you have to shut down a factory in order to rebuild it, or there's all kinds of things. So that 13-week cash flow, and it's rolling 13 weeks and should be looked at on a pretty regular basis, like once a week, or if not once a week, every couple of weeks, because you need to be always cognizant of, am I going to be able to get to that point with the cash reserves I have, or am I going to start needing to think about funding? Because funding doesn't happen overnight. You don't just get up one morning and go, gosh, I need $500,000. I'm going to go down and talk to Joe at the bank, and I'll have that money in my account tomorrow. It doesn't. Those things take weeks, if not months, to get all the packaging together, and the faster you try to do it, the more expensive it is, which is not very good either. So 13-week rolling cash flow. That's really the point. And using your analogy, it's in January we want to be thinking about, well, what are we going to look like in March and April, and how comfortable is that going to be? Because that $50,000 is going to be down to 20,000, and you're going, gosh, I'm still bleeding, and I'm not going to see anything, right? So it becomes much more dire, and the decisions you have to make at that point, it would be easier to make them in January and try to figure out how to
Yeah, and
do
a
that.
funny thing about the banks, they tend to be more friendly at lending you money when you don't need it than when you do need it. Like when you need money, it's kind of hard to get a
Absolutely.
loan, and when you don't need it, they'll lend it to you all day long. Um, I imagine this to be the case. I don't know for sure, but how when you're working with business owners are so deeply entrenched in the running of their businesses, right? And practicing their craft, and being the best being the best doctor, the best lawyer, the best whatever they are, being the best that they can be, so that they can stay in business. They tend to lack that, pardon the pun of the name of the show, but they tend to lack that view from above, to be able to step back and see the big picture a lot of times. Is that a fair statement to kind of generalize maybe a little bit of what you're helping do a little bit there, is to give them that view from above and that bigger picture?
Yeah, and that's not a ding on
No,
business
not at
owners
all. That's
either.
how they got there.
It's a ding.
Right. That's how they got there.
Well, and it's human nature. Well, yeah, it's partly because they're really good at focusing on what they do well. Uh, we can't be great at everything, and if you're really good at if you're really good at building fences, and that's your company and that's what you do, and you're really good at it, uh, that probably means you don't have as much time to be focusing on the nuances of strategic planning with finances or capex or funding, or it's like we can't be great at everything we do. I would suck at building fences. I tried a couple times and it didn't come out very well. It's like, that's why I pay other people to do it. Same thing with just about every business, right? You want to be specialized at what you do. And I think one of the challenges that business owners start having, especially with consultants and especially financial consultants is the ability for that financial consultant to present decision-making opportunities, because the business owner ultimately still has to make the decision, right? Presenting those opportunities in a way, in a framework that the business owner can actually make a good decision on and actually understand what they need to understand in order to make that decision. And all too many times, boy, do I see, especially businesses that in hindsight got themselves in trouble because they said, well, you just tell me what I need to
Yeah.
do and I'll do it. Right. And that just doesn't work very well either. It needs to be well, here's what I see. Here's the framework around which you need to make a decision, but it's your business. You understand your customers. You understand your environment. You understand the work that you do way better than I do. And all I can do is give you enough information that you can make a great qualified decision, uh, and not overwhelm you with data that you're just going to go, yeah, but I can't do that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a supporting staff type or the supporting role for the business owners, and definitely not a knock on business owners, right? Because I mean, it's
Yeah.
the best quarterback in football can't snap the ball, throw the ball, and catch the ball, right? The best basketball player can't pass it to themselves, catch it, shoot it, and rebound it all at the same time. Everybody is has. We all focus on the things that we're best at. I think a lot of times business owners, they don't know what they don't know they're not doing. Does that make any sense at all? Right? Like they are so
Mm-hmm.
busy doing everything they need to do to keep the business going that they don't even know what they're missing a lot of times, and it's not a fault of them at all. We're all confined to that same 24-hour restriction per day. You can't make more of that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, John, before we go, could you share for the viewers, listeners, how to contact you, business owners who may be interested in this type of work? Our primary message and purpose of this show and this channel is to educate folks on what's out there and how to make decisions that improve their odds of success is the way I would word that now. But a lot of times the best way to improve their odds is to seek a professional who can help with that. And Wealth Partners cannot do that, but I know that Altus can.
Absolutely. So I think the best place for them to start would be still on our website. That's Altus Wealth, all one word, ALTUS. It's a Latin word, means you from above, altuswealth.com. And then from there is a place on the website where they can just schedule a 15-minute consult. It's free. I'm super happy to talk to any business owner about what's going on in their business, what they're trying to do, what they don't know, or what they wish that they knew more about. And if it doesn't turn into a client for me, I still live vicariously through those 15-minute conversations, which tend not to be 15 minutes. They tend to go a little bit longer, and that's fine too. Because first and foremost, I'm an entrepreneur and a business owner myself, and I learn as much from my clients about things that they do and the way they do things and the way they look at stuff, that I don't look at it that way. And I just find those conversations to be super helpful for me as a fellow business owner. But they also, if I can give you something in 15 or 20 minutes or 30 minutes that helps you be a better business owner, then I feel like I'm helping out the community. And if something works out beyond that, obviously that's great and wonderful. Certainly a good percentage of those conversations do turn into something where we're helping a business owner get further down the path. But that's where I would start. Do that free consult. Don't be afraid of me. I don't bite. And I love having those
He does
conversations.
not bite. I've known John for a while now, and yeah, no bite marks yet. Appreciate it, John.
Good.
Always a pleasure, man.